name is Yvonne Max, and I'm the founder and chair of the channel community, and also the founder and CEO of Co-Cheer, which is a coaching and consulting practice, and also a channel community gold supporter. Welcome to the very next episode of Smashing the Class Ceiling. In this series, I'll be interviewing and showcasing some of the fantastic individuals that we have in the channel who have all come from a low socio-economic background, but have gone on to build incredibly successful careers. They will be sharing their stories of how they navigated the corporate corridors and smashed through the class ceiling. So without delay, I would like to welcome my very next guest, Jes Chandi, or Jes, as I know you like to be known. And Jes is the Senior Organisational Development Consultant at Computacenter, and she enables people to reach their potential. Thank you, Jes, for agreeing to come on the show and share your story with us.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you for having me. I'm a bit nervous, but let's see how that goes.
I know your story, so I'm really excited. So Jes, obviously we've only known each other for just over a year now. We first met through the people and culture community, but it was only really when we hosted jointly with Computacenter a recent gathering. We worked quite closely together on the content, and I think that was then that we realised we have a mutual passion for social mobility and shared some quite funny stories about how that had impacted us both personally. So whilst I have, a fairly good understanding and appreciation of your upbringing, and, I think, and I appreciate how well thought of you are by your peers at Computacenter, I know that I'm going to be probably one of only a few people that know your story. So what I'd like to start is where you grew up and tell me about your early career. So are we okay to start with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Thank you. So I grew up in East London. I was born in Barking, then spent most of my childhood in Ilford and moved to Newbury Park, but all part of the East London area. I class myself as a British Indian woman. I'm of South Asian heritage. I'm Sikh in terms of my religion. I'm not massive on religion, but I do love what we have there to offer. So do follow as closely as I can. My parents are or were second generation immigrants. My dad worked on the Underground, on the Central Line, and my mum worked in a factory. And growing up, we were pretty hand to mouth. We didn't have a lot of money, so both quite working in low paid jobs. So we had enough money to pay bills and put food on the table. So no space for luxuries. I was the eldest of four, so I had three younger siblings. I attended a really good comprehensive school in the Seven Kings area, and I had brilliant teachers, but I always struggled with school and especially homework. Our sort of family dynamic was that if I had homework, my mum's first language wasn't English, so she'd sometimes struggle helping me with the homework unless it was maths. She was absolutely superb at maths. And then my dad would work shift patterns, so by the time he got home, we'd be in bed. So trying to navigate sort of that homework was really hard for me. Couldn't ask my siblings, they were younger, I had no idea what I was doing. Couldn't obviously afford tuitions or extra classes or any of the extracurricular activities. So this was all money related things. So from an outward looking, you could clearly tell from a class and from a financial point of view, I was the poor kid in the class. A few years on, my dad passed away. I was 14 at the time. He passed away from an illness. My mum left work because there wasn't anybody to look after us, get us to school, pick us up, and so on and so forth. So my younger siblings were young. They were 12, 10, and 7 at the time. So hard in terms of trying to navigate that. After that, I made a firm decision whether I liked school or struggled with it or not. I was going to study, and I was going to study hard. I needed to make something of myself, and I think my thinking was this vicious circle around sort of our financial capability had to change, and that was only going to change if I got an education.
Right.
For me, it was also I have to set an example for my siblings, right? I can't not work or not study, and they then follow me as a role model. So I needed to break out of that. So for me,
on that role, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe second parent, but definitely one of, I saw my parents work hard, always knew that was sort of our mantra, but I could only really break out that financial situation if I studied and got a good job in those terms. So that was me, but obviously a lot harder than I'd actually envisaged it would be. So it's been quite the journey. I know I've shared some of that with you, but school wasn't easy for various reasons. I think I had my own inner voice and the pressure of, you've got to do something, you've got to make something yourself, what your siblings going to do if you don't. So that added on probably unnecessary pressure. But you know, things like I was so desperately wanted to go to my school's sixth form because it was high prestige, there were good teachers, you know, we had that. Whereas in those days, going to a college in East London was frowned upon. You know, if you went to a college in East London, you were a dropout, or you didn't see the education through, you got into a bad crowd. And in my head, I thought, my God, I belonged to a single parent family, which already had certain connotations around it. And then being a college dropout, you know, wasn't an option. In the middle of that, I got my hair permed and my nose pierced, which probably gave off a certain vibe at that time as well, to go, is she actually going to see? Pardon?
Your little bit of rebellion.
Yeah. And I was really conscious of that, actually, weirdly. Whereas now, you know, I'm not sure anybody would give it a second thought. But for me at the time, I thought, gosh, you know, focus and show you can make something of yourself. So, but that was that. I did go on to complete my GCSEs, did really well. So was able to stay on at my sixth form and do my A levels. But again, during A levels, I really struggled. I was predicted quite low grades, so 2 C's and a D, which was enough to get into uni, but maybe not into what I wanted. But the reason that's significant is I remember a week before our UCAS forms, I'm not sure if they even exist now, but they were the application you had to submit into universities to get a place at university. But a week before it was submitted, I'm sitting in the library and one of the students were complaining about having made a mistake on their form. And I'm like, what form are they talking about? And then quickly realised this form had to be submitted if you wanted to secure a place in university.
Wow.
And I remember rushing around, like there was no one to tell me, right, you got to fill in this form, or this is the work you have to do. I didn't have anybody that had gone to university before me in my friend circle or my social circle or my family circle. So the pressure at the time was, oh my God, I've got to get this form in. Anyway, managed to get the form done, got it submitted, got a place at a university, but not on the course I wanted. Eventually did my my A levels, and I got 2 A's and a B, so achieved a lot higher.
That's amazing. So they were totally wrong in their predictions. It just goes to show, doesn't it? You shouldn't just go by what other people say. You just got to work hard and keep focused, and you can absolutely achieve anything. Well done.
100%. Thank you. And I think one of the factors there was one of the teachers showed a lot of faith. So she was the one that predicted me a D. And it was my sociology teacher. That's where I got one of the A's. And what she said to me, I mean, she should have failed me, and that's probably what my prediction should have been. I was performing quite bad at the time. And she said to me, I know you can do it. The nerves are getting the best of you. You're putting pressure on yourself. You know, she knew my family situation, and she knew that was what was the overriding thought. You know, I have to do good. I have to do good. If she said, if you just stop that and just focus on what the question is and what you're trying to do, you'll do a lot better. And the faith she showed in me, I was like, is she crazy? Like, there's no way I can go from a D to anything more. I mean, the fact she predicted me a D, she's insane. But that that fail became a D in her head, and that D for me became an A in reality. Now, that just goes to show you, when someone gives you the time, the faith, the confidence, what you're capable of doing, right?
Got talent and know what you're capable. Yeah, absolutely.
With a bit of hard work thrown in, right? So I worked. So but that really helped me, and somewhat in building my confidence as well, to go, well, if that I can go from those predicted to these achieved, you know, I can do anything. So reapplied at university for the course I did want to do, which was business IT, and then graduated with a 2-1. And interesting, now when I look back, going through what I did, I go, oh God, what happened there, and what stemmed that? But I think some of the reasons for my struggles was, firstly, the pressure that I had to do well. I'm not sure it was anything to do with being female, or even maybe partly down to my South Asian upbringing, or being Indian. I think it was the financial situation. And as I said earlier, the fact that I thought, I've got to break out of this, and the only way to do it was to get an education, work for something, and break out of this lower socio-economic background. Like, I can't sit in this. I mean, that phrase wasn't even a phrase when I was growing up. It was class. It was being poor, was, you know, what we called it. So it was just like, I have to earn money to break out of this vicious circle where everybody's comfortable around me and we can do better. But yeah, a little faith does go a long way.
100%. Well, you've already, you know, you've shown what determination and drive can accomplish. And so you obviously did university, you'd got a 2-1 business IT, did you say?
Business IT, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And I mean, what made you do business IT for firstly? That's quite that's quite a different type of degree back then. It wasn't that standard. That was quite rare for a female to be doing that type of degree.
very rare. And it's interesting because now I think about it going, how did I as a female pick that topic? And I think it was the hot topic. So when I was applying for university and looking at courses, everyone was talking about IT. You know, drama had fallen off the radar, and from what I hear now, drama's back on the radar. It's a pretty awesome topic to do, but you know, you don't want to do art, you don't want to do drama, you don't want to do geography. What you want to do is business IT. You know, and I listened to the people around me, and it was everywhere. It was a dot-com boom. There was all of that stuff surrounding it. You know, your big tech companies were doing really well, doing grad programs. So I got led by that. I never really thought about, do I have a passion in it or not? For me, the thought that took over everything was, I have to do well to earn money. So for me, I thought, well, if I go into a career of IT, I know people are making money because I'm hearing that and I'm seeing that, and that's probably what attracted me to it. I had a love for science, so actually now going back, if I had to redo things, maybe I would have taken a different path, but I didn't think about what I enjoyed. I just thought about where can I see myself with a career and doing well. So IT was the topic I picked. Yeah.
Amazing. And so obviously you got your 2-1, you've now got your degree. What was your early career like? What was your first job?
God. So I graduated and it all came to a standstill. So everything was booming as I went into university, as I did. It was a 4-year degree. It was what we called a sandwich degree. So you did a year's placement in the middle. And literally as we're sort of at the tail end of graduating, you know, there's a sort of dot-com crash and no one's doing grad placements because, you know, what they thought would last for years, they'd kind of had it sussed, and, you know, there was almost a bit of a freeze. So it didn't work too well for me because me and my friends at the time when we were applying for jobs was really tough. You had to be the best of the best, and even then they were like, look, we'll call you back in a year's time because we're freezing all grad recruitment.
Wow.
And at that time, grad recruitment was only the real route you wanted to go down when you graduated. So grad placement programs, I mean, because coming out of university and just doing a job was then gone, well, you did 4 years and then you didn't do a grad program. Like, why was that? It was a little frowned upon. So it had to be a grad program. Again, probably unnecessary pressure in my own head, but there was a bit of a freeze, came out, couldn't really get a job in IT at the time. So it was whatever I could do to earn money. So I actually went back and worked for the same factory my mum worked in, literally to just earn some money, and started on the factory floor. So, you know, picking items and boxing them up and sending them off. Someone noticed some talent somewhere and promoted me to customer services. So I moved up to customer services. So we're dealing with customers on the phone. And there was a little tech involved because it was a really odd, weird IT system, but not a lot of people could work out, and I could. So that was probably my first foot in somewhat of an IT world. But I mean, I use that term really loosely, right? I was on a computer, I suppose. So did that. And then again, I moved from London to Bedford. And if I found it hard to get a job in London, there was no chance in Bedford at the time. So signed up with an agency. And the agency said, you can come and work for this company, but they've only got a 3-day contract for an IT technician. Now, the fact that it had the word IT technician in the title, I went, I don't care, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, I'll come and work, right? That's something to put on my CV. So said to the agency, I'll come, I'll work for them. And I turned up at a company called Computacenter in Milton Keynes, really small office. We had one main customer based out of there to do this IT technician role. The contract was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I did the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On my way home on the Friday, my boss turned around and went, you know, see you later, Jess, have a great weekend, see you Monday. And I went, yeah, you too, see you Monday. Walked out the building, it's now gone 6:30, got into the car with my husband, and I went, he just said see you Monday, but I'm not supposed to be working Monday. So my husband said, well, go in and ask him. And I was like, I can't do that. He's going to think I'm silly. Like, I should know what hours I'm working. And he was like, just go and ask. I was like, no, absolutely, I can't do that. He's going to think I'm a fool. Let me try calling the agency. 6:30, the agency had closed, so I couldn't get through to them. So when I drive home, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't want him to think I'm a fool for not turning up, but equally, I don't want him to think I'm a fool for turning up. So my husband said, look, worst case, you know, I'll take you in on Monday. If they send you home, they send you home. It's fine. So I said, let's do that. Monday comes, turn up at the office. My desk is still there. My laptop's still set up. So I do another day's work, another day's, called the agency. Contract got extended by a week, then a month. I was temping for a year and then applied to do a permanent role, and then did the role of a first line analyst, got promoted to a second line, and then what was called third line, so slightly more technical. So what was a 3-day contract ended up being a 20-year career for me, because I'm still
Wow,
at the same
amazing.
company.
And
Yeah.
then that's obviously how you got into the channel then, by pure
Yeah,
chance.
pure
So,
chance.
because it was a technical role, but
Yeah.
obviously Computacenter being like the amazing reseller that they are, or services provider,
Yeah.
and being, you know, one of the biggest players in the channel, that's how your journey began there.
How my journey began. And I'm not in the tech role now, but we're still a tech company, a phenomenal tech company. But to think how I might have not worked for Computacenter if it wasn't a technical role, you know, sometimes haunts me. But that is literally my step into Computacenter and the IT industry. Yeah.
So how did you go? I'm going to ask you this because I'm really curious myself. How did you go from that support into the role that you're doing now? Because that's, like you said, it's completely different. You've
Yeah.
gone from a
Yeah.
very technical type position to L&D, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. So I think it comes back to that point around me picking the degree and doing IT, because I thought it was a career, it would give me a solid grounding and make me financially stable. I think that more I did the role, because it was so highly technical, you know, I wasn't speaking to people. I wasn't able to help in the capacity I maybe wanted. It was you're in the back end doing the technical stuff, which is fine. My energy is around working with people, right? You've read the tag, you know, helping people reach their potential is what I've got on my LinkedIn. And I think I was missing that. So as I went into more and more of a technical role and became the third line analyst, I started helping other people understand the role and what that did. And I think my manager at the time really recognized that, to go, you're really able to help the people coming through. Why don't you start helping with induction and supporting them around how they get inducted into the technical role? Then slowly would have, you know, customers who maybe weren't happy with the solutions we were providing them. So I'd get put on the phone as a point of escalation, not as a team leader, but as someone who could calm them down, show a bit of empathy. And I started getting called in to do more stuff like that. So less technical and more people support and customer support. And then over time, it was like, well, can you just sort of write what was training manuals at the time or scripts to help our employees do that? So I ended up falling into a training department at the time that was created just to do that type of stuff. And I went, actually, I really enjoy this. I'm working with people, whether that's people in the company or customers. And this is really where I feel like I can add value. And I became the go-to person for that. So I did that for a few years. That team got made redundant, and I applied to sort of the group HR team at the time to do a coordinator role. Just wanted to come in and do some bits of small customer service. And that's how I made that transition. And that role then just grew. I applied for a different job, got promoted to the role I'm doing now as a senior consultant. But it seems bizarre, right? Like I've gone from that IT, and I think it's my passion that probably led me there.
Yeah.
With good managers knowing what I was good at, using me for my strengths and giving me the opportunity. And that's one thing this organization has been phenomenal for, is you know, spotting talent or spotting people with skills and going, how about you go give that a try and see how you get on, and then loving it. And that's been my creative transition from IT to HR. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And we speak about mentors often, but it's also sponsorship. It's like you said, having those people that sponsor you, that identify that talent in the first place, and then give you the support and encouragement to go on a different path that you may not have even considered. And it's great that Computacenter, you know, have done that for you. That's incredible. So what do you think the biggest challenges that you have faced, and how did you overcome them?
So it's interesting, because I don't think when I'm going through them, I thought they were challenges. I thought they were just things every kid or young adult had to go through. You know, so you just deal with them, right? When you're younger, the resilience is pretty phenomenal as well. So it's only now when I look back, I kind of feel sad for that kid or that adult having to go through that. So it's hard, but I think now I'm a lot more conscious of those challenges. Probably that support network, I think. So like I said, you know, mum's first language wasn't English. So trying to get help or trying to navigate the world of work or any of that was really hard. And again, I didn't realize as a challenge. So I went, surely everybody goes through that. Everybody must have a parent who's second generation immigrant or doesn't have, and probably not actually. So that probably was the biggest challenge. My options, career coaching wasn't what career coaching is today. You just got given a big fat file where you filled in a few questionnaires and it said you'll be brilliant at being a secretary, and that's pretty much what mine got. Mine got come back as a secretary or a teacher. So not having that network of people that I could go and talk to, not knowing I could call in on sponsors or people who could put a good word in for me, that was probably the hardest thing to navigate. I didn't think there was any other options but going to uni, whereas now looking back, I'm like, oh, actually, there was quite a few routes I could have taken that may have led me down the same path. Or certainly now when you look at students coming out of school and stuff, just the vast amount of opportunities and being aware of those options and opportunities is so key. But I kind of got led and almost forced down a path because I didn't have that knowledge. So that's probably got to be one of the main ones, I think.
I think that's very similar to myself. You know, there was no one to guide you, even though I had both parents and a good support network from that perspective. I was the first person ever to work in an office. So there was no other real career options available other than the choices based on my peers and my family members. You know, both my parents worked in factories, so did my sister when she left school, and my brother. So it's just having that additional knowledge or knowing what opportunities are out there, other than, like you say, the ridiculous careers advice that you get from school. I mean, I don't even think mine wasn't even a teacher, so you did way better than me. I think mine was like secretary at best. So it's you were doing way better than me, Jess. So what has been your proudest moment of your career, and tell me why that is?
I think it's hard to pinpoint one. I think, again, if I look back at my journey, you know, just getting through my GCSEs and then completing my A levels, completing my degree, like every one of them have been a milestone. And the reason being, there was nobody in my family, like you say, Yvonne, same as you, who'd gone to university or even gone down that formal education route. So every time I did one of those, for me, it was a massive achievement. You know, getting a job eventually, even if it was in a factory, I was like, I'm earning money, I can put something on the table. And then actually ending up in an IT related job, for me, I mean, I can't tell you how proud my mum was. I mean, she's been amazing. For her, it was, as long as you're happy and healthy, I don't care what you do. You can sit at home if you need to, just be happy and healthy. So my mum's upbringing was just phenomenal. But in a way, it's what drove me to do more, because I'm like, well, she's clearly not going to have a go at me to tell me to do something. I better get off my own back and do it, right? So getting that first job at Computacenter for me was a massive milestone. And I think part of the reason is 21 years later, I'm still here doing something completely different, something I've got so much passion for. And it's almost scary to think, God, what would my life have been if I didn't turn back up on that Monday, you know, to do that extra day's work. So I think there's been various things during that. And then whilst here, you know, being recognised for my strengths, my hard work, you know, through awards or rewards or promotions, I don't think I've actually actively gone, there's a job, I need to go and apply for that. It's all been through encouragement, through sponsorship, through just, you'd really be great at that, give it a go. And again, the pressure's been taken away. It's kind of go explore it. I don't think you see that in many organisations. And then seeing my siblings turn up and do something because they've gone, oh, big sister did it, right? So we're going to follow suit. So both my sisters are teachers, my brother works for the Met Police, and you just go, wow, okay, they did something that they're passionate about. I mean, there's a theme here, it's about people and compassion, right? So they followed those routes. So for me, when I look back, I go, well, they're probably the milestones, the achievements I'm most proud of.
No, and good for you. And why not? You know, being that role model, taking the lead. Unfortunately, my parents I didn't have the same choice. It was like, you're going to work or you're going to college, because you're not being a layabout. So that wasn't an option for me.
Go
out and earn some money.
Earn some money. Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Oh dear. So how do you think that coming from a low social economic background has impacted your career, either positively or negatively?
Probably both, actually, Yvonne, positively and negatively. So if looking back and understanding the things I'd gone through to be challenges, you know, things like not having access to a network or resources or people who could guide me through career choices, advise me on the options, give me confidence to make a decision, you know, work with my strengths and my passion rather than what I thought I had to do, you know, that I go, well, it's negative, wasn't it? Now, when I look back at the time, like I say, when you're navigating it, you're just navigating it, you're none the wiser almost. But, you know, that I feel a bit negative. And there's a story which I've shared with you before, but I remember going for a part-time job at a retailer company and thought it'll bring in a few bobs while I'm studying, and not being given any guidance about interview etiquette, right? So like I say, Dad worked in the underground, Mum worked in a factory. No one talked to me about what you do at an interview. Anyhow, I remember turning up for this interview in my brand new jeans and a brand new jacket, which in fairness had a hood, so arguably you could class it as a hoodie, and chewing gum, so my breath would be minty fresh when I turned up. Did the interview, which I thought was amazing, but I didn't get the job, right? So I went days and weeks going, I don't know what I did wrong. I answered the questions really well. I don't know why I didn't get the job. And the company themselves never told me. There just wasn't that etiquette to go back and go, this is why. So they never told me. Anyway, my mum was puzzled. I'm puzzled. My mum thought I was the best candidate for the job, of course. So anyway, this went on for weeks. And then I remember my friend going for the same job and getting the job. And we were generally discussing, and she had 5 older sisters. And I remember her saying, and those sisters were well educated or in university and with great jobs. And I remember her saying, how she'd borrowed a grey suit from her sister for this interview. And she was trying to work out if the white shirt was better or the pink shirt, and then settled for the white shirt. And I'm going, why does she wear a suit? And what was she picking shirts out for? And then boom, light bulb moment. I went, oh, okay. And then I sort of navigated a conversation with her. So when you apply for jobs, what do you wear? And she went, yeah, I wore my sister's suit and a brand new shirt. And I was so embarrassed. I was like, who do I share this with? I thought it was okay to wear a brand new pair of jeans and a brand new top to an interview. And that's where I started learning. So when I go, it impacted me negatively, it was because I didn't have that
Yeah.
I don't know, common sense now, right? But no one to go, when you go for an interview, this is what you do. You turn up 10 minutes early, you do this, you shake hands. No one told me that because I'd never been for a job before. But it was an interesting life learning moment.
It's not just interview etiquette as well. It's just like social etiquette and also how to interact in a corporate environment. It doesn't come with a rule book, does it? It's just like you're not taught how to behave or how to eat, or that you have extra knives and forks when you go out for dinner for the first time. And this is what, you and I have spoken about it.
We've spoken about this.
On quite depth. There's all those different dynamics that I think you have to figure out, and some positively, some not so much. I went to an interview, my first job, actually in a suit, because I'd just been to a wedding and I'd had this little suit that I'd wore. So my mum said, oh, wear that. That would be quite nice for your interview. Yeah. What I didn't know, though, is when I started work that I shouldn't look like I was going clubbing. So I'd never worked, no one had ever worked in an office. And I turn up in like this hot pantsuit thing, thinking that's okay. Apparently it wasn't. No. So
wasn't acceptable, no.
No. But at least I'd got the job at that point. So that was, it's all these different learning curves. I know, and people, I think, that have come from a more privileged upbringing just take all that for granted, and they have this natural gravitas and ability to know how to behave in certain situations.
You're right. Like if I compare myself to my friend from a background, we were very similar. The difference being she had older siblings who had navigated it before her. So when I say about a network, she had them as that network. She had them as that resource pool to go, well, what do you wear to an interview? What did you wear? And I didn't, which now seems really silly to go, well, why didn't you ask someone? But, as a 16, 17-year-old, there's enough going on anyway. So you don't even think this is a thing. But your example about dinner is, I've shared with you where I've been told off for using, taking the bread from the wrong side, but openly being embarrassed about it because I was almost told off in front of another 20 people. And you're like, that's not cool, dude. Take me to the side, let me know. I wasn't brought up in an environment where we ate at a table like that, especially South Asian heritage. The cuisines we have don't have bread rolls on the side of you, or 2 lots of knives and 2 lots of forks. It's a very different upbringing. So when you're trying to navigate stuff like that, it's fine if you know what you're up against, but when you don't, it's mind-blowing. So you need someone who can, with a bit of empathy, just sort of nudge you, let you know, next time, let's think about this, and not openly embarrass you. Because all that then does is to go, I'm going to hide it even more because I feel exposed, rather than I can be my true self.
Yeah, you're constantly trying to fit in to them rather than them being sort of understanding and appreciative of the differences that we all have, and
Absolutely. Shouldn't be
focused
taking
on the
them away.
strengths. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
knowing what you know now, Jess, what you've achieved, what would you say to a
Mm,
young version of yourself?
gosh, I think I'd say lots, right? Where do I start? I think first and foremost, you're just as good as anyone else. Or in simple terms, confidence. And I think it's an easy word to say and to use and to tell people to be confident, but trying to navigate that is really complex. Um, I gave you the example of not wanting to go back in and ask my boss whether I should come back on the Monday. And if I'm honest with myself, I think it was a level of confidence. I thought I can't go in and ask him because he'll think, well, you're stupid. Why would you not know what you're doing? And in my defense, I'm going, I know what I'm doing, but you've told me one thing, but all agency told me another. Now, if that situation was ever to occur, I would 100% go back and ask the question and go, and the reason I'm asking is because of this. But back then, not having that confidence and not wanting to expose myself, as you said, it's completely alien to me. So, and again, in confidence, when we're trying to help people build their brand or build confidence, we're giving them advice based on our experience and what worked for us and all of that wonderful stuff. But when we're giving tips to people, we've just got to understand where their starting point is, because it's not the same as you, the advice giver, maybe.
Yeah,
I again remember really early on somebody going, I'll giving me tips on how to present. It was a group of 5 people I had to do a presentation to, and I was so nervous. And they're giving me tips on how to, engage the audience, stand up, posture, and all of that. And I thought, all I want is gravitas to talk to one person face to face, let alone present to 5, because I'd never had to do it in my life before. You
yeah,
did it at university, a safe setting, but in a corporate environment. And I'm thinking, dude, our starting point is completely different. You're telling me how to present to a group of people, and I just want enough to be able to hold a conversation one-on-one with someone. Um, and navigating that is hard. And there's a quote I love, which is, there's nothing more unequal than the equal treatment of unequal people. So the assumption of we get each other, we're going to treat us the same because I'm trying to create a bit of equality here, it doesn't work, because we're not equals to start with. So the
yeah.
advice you're giving me doesn't work for me. So, and that really
It's
resonates with
not
me.
equality, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
we all wear different shoes, different sizes. One's shoe doesn't fit all, sort of
No,
thing.
no. And it's
Absolutely.
lovely that I'm saying you're welcome to borrow mine of one, but if they don't fit you, that's no good, right? And then that
Yeah,
it's kind of that ethos on there. So you're good as anyone else, I think, will be one. Embrace your full being. I think you said it earlier, but I was really embarrassed to share why I was struggling with studying and reach out for help. Part of it was because I didn't have the home environment where I could get the help, and felt I was lagging. Then I was really conscious about my financial situation. So when you're going to school or sixth form and you're getting older, I'm so worried about that social belonging element. So, oh my God, do these people know I've been wearing the same shoes for 2 years? Or can they notice there's a rip in my bag? Or can they see I've outgrown my cardigan? It just took too much energy, like to think
yeah,
about things that I should have been focusing on otherwise, or just being a kid. And,
yeah,
when I say embrace your full being, again, I appreciate it's really easy to say, but to be in that situation and do exactly that is something completely different.
yeah,
But again, if I knew then what I know now, I'd go, it's fine. I'm not too worried about whether somebody thinks I've outgrown my cardigan or not. And write
yeah.
your own narrative.
Well, isn't
Hmm?
it? I think as the
Yeah,
older you get, the less you care about stuff like that
true.
as well.
Age is a big factor. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Um, but write your own narrative. I think I spent too much time listening to other people and what they think I should do or what they're going to do because it's the right thing. And I kind of lost my passion in there somewhere, hence why I went for the IT and then eventually sort of fell out of it. But these days, there's so much opportunities, right, to do stuff. And I think if I'd followed in suit and done that, I might have been working for a big IT name and not enjoyed it. And actually, in hindsight, I go, I don't know if I would have ever applied to Computacenter because it's not a household name. And yet I've spent the best part of my 20 years here. So that pressure sometimes takes you down a route that you probably aren't destined for. So yeah, write your own narrative, be confident in what you want.
love that. And what support and help do you think that companies could be doing to help individuals that come from a low social economic background?
um I think lots actually, Yvonne. We talked about it at the event we ran as well, and I think for me that just made me realize how much Computacenter do. you know, one of the things we've consciously done is widen our recruitment pool. So we don't consider just recruiting off a selected prestige institution. You know, we look at a broader array of educational, vocational institutions, and especially going out to areas where we know there's people aren't well off or off a low socio-economic background, and sort of widening that resource pool, that resource net, to bring in the talent for the future. So definitely that. Creating people networks. So my example of, I didn't know who I can go and talk to about those silly things, you know, having a network where people can come and ask you questions and get work ready or career ready, because they don't want to ask their parents because they don't know, or they don't want to ask a teacher or a friend because they don't want to be seen as silly. But, you know, a safe environment to come and go, I really don't know what I'm doing here. Can someone help me? Create the networks, but also how do we promote them and get people engaged with them? You know, that's a big thing. When you're reviewing applications, and again, we've become really good at this, we're not asking for a specific discipline or a certain qualification. We're hiring for attitude and training for skills, if I can sum it up as that, because how important is it that you have the exact experience that I need? And am I willing to maybe take on less experience, but you have the right attitude and give you that experience through the learning and development we offer at an organisation? You know, we've really changed our stance on that, and we can see it's widened our resource pool. So we're bringing in much more talent because we're going, we'll give you the experience if you can show me you've got passion to do the job, and make something of it. So a few things there. I think paid opportunities is a big thing. I've been reading a fair bit about this, and there's an article on HR Grapevine about this, but in there it was talking about when you don't pay for interns and work experience, all you're doing is widening that inequality gap even more, because the people who will come for unpaid experience is those who know that they don't have a network, so want a foot in the door, and they were willing to gain the experience at the cost of not being paid. But all you do is deepen the gap. And that resonated with me, because I remember doing my university placement, again, not having the network of the people to reach out to, and thought, oh my God, I will do any placement for free because I just need to complete my degree and I can't complete it without the work placement. I got so desperate that I was writing cover letters and CVs to company headquarters and just addressing them to HR. And it was a funny incident. I remember, I don't know, I was in my kitchen cooking something, and I think it was peanut butter, but taking a peanut butter jar out, and at the back seeing the head office address and going, I'm just going to write to them. You know, God knows they might have a role for me. So I got my covering letter and CV out, and I wrote to HR of X company and put in the head office address. And then I literally went around my house going, where can I get items with head office addresses? Because I was so desperate for a job.
But that's thinking outside of the box.
I mean, there'll be people listening going, yeah, that's creative, and other people going, why are you wasting your time, right? But when you don't have the network, you find whatever resource you can. But again, for good measure, I put in, you know, I'm happy to do it for free. And now in hindsight, I'm going, well, no, because all that would have done was set an expectation for me that, or any salary is a good salary. Whereas I did the placement, I got one at the end, you'll be pleased to know, I got paid for it. For me, gave me confidence to go, well, that's my worth. So in the next job I go for, at the very minimum, I want this salary as my base, and then build up from that.
Yeah.
When you're working for free because you want the experience, you're then going in with a much lower benchmark. So we've had this conversation where you've not asked for a pay rise or kind of known your worth, right?
So pay gap exists because of that reason. You know, and this is the thing that's come out consistently across all the conversations that I have. It's people just don't value themselves in the same way, and they're so grateful for everything they have and every opportunity. They don't ask for what they deserve. They're just, you know, makes us have these bigger class pay gap type issues
even more, and that does contribute to the pay gap. I'm a firm believer. Yeah.
So my last question for you, what one piece of advice would you give to somebody from a low social economic background who is trying to navigate a career in the Channel? Apart from Computacenter, because clearly you're smashing it.
I think it will probably be similar to the stuff when you asked me the question around what you achieved, and, you know, what were you achieved and what would you say to a younger self? You know, you'll embrace your full self. It's the confidence. The one thing I take away, because I'm still learning, is, you know, educate yourself on financial literacy. or become financially literate. The school system doesn't do that. It's a bigger problem than the organisation, and maybe more of a societal issue, but we don't teach our kids that. So again, for me, it's a vicious circle. So if I don't become financially literate, I don't know what to do with my finances. Even when I'm earning the money, I don't know what I'm doing with it. I did a seminar, and there was a teacher who said actually financial literacy is so key for the generations today and the generations of tomorrow, and how she was teaching her kids about the 50-30-20 rule. And she said that, and she goes, you all know about the 50-20-30 rule. And I looked around and I went, well, I certainly don't.
No,
and there's a real divide in the room. Those who put their hand up were, and then those who didn't. So she went on to explain the 50-30-20 rule. So 50% of your income should be used on needs, so bills and so on and so forth. 30% should be on wants, so your desires, treat yourself, and 20% should go towards your savings. Now, such a simple formula, and yet the amount of people in the room who went, I had no clue about this, right? Now, I'm not bad with my finance, but if someone had given me that rule when I was a lot younger, you would be in a different position. So if I'd given that rule to my parents, I mean, we didn't have the ability to have a 20 or a 30, right? We were just making ends meet. But I think you're educating people in a different way to become self-sufficient. You're trying to break out of that vicious cycle to start doing something different. It's an organisation-led thing. I think we have to take ownership because it's not on the curriculum. I'm not seeing it come on the curriculum anytime soon. We don't know. The government's changed. Let's see. But I think that's one thing I'll say to people is go get that information. We've got the web. We've got all this amazing stuff, ChatGPT and all sorts. So go look it up. There's so much help out there, and we have to become resourceful and creative in how we get that.
Great. Jes, you have well and truly smashed the class ceiling. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thanks, Yvonne. Thank you so much. Thank you.